You're saying when you worked for Rigathi Gachagua, this is in 2023.
Yes.
Up to, was it early this year?
2023 to 2024 officially. Transitioned with him November, December, January, and left end of February. Stopped working with him end of February.
So you stopped working with Rigathi Gachagua earlier this year?
Yes.
When you were working with Rigathi Gachagua, had you left Jubilee?
No.
So how did that work?
Were you Uhuru's expert in Gachagua? You know, now we know.
Uhuru has experts everywhere.
You know, these Azimio parties are just donating experts to government. Were you an expert donated by Jubilee into the Deputy President's office?
Donated by Jubilee to the Deputy President's office, but maybe I was an expert that they needed in that office, because it's actually the ones who asked me to work with them, the ones who reached out and asked, look, we need help with political communications. And you've done this for a while, because I had actually done it even before I was Member of Parliament during Uhuru's first term. And why it was not a problem that I was in a different party is the same reason why in public service, forget about the ministers and executive officers, a lot of the people who work in government belong to some party or the other. And nobody ever asks you whether the party you belong to is a determinant of the kind of work that you're doing. So that never came up in terms of it being a conflict. In fact, it just became easier for me to be able to advise because I was an outsider. I was not involved in the mark of the party or where it had come from. And then I was able to criticize without fear, because I was like, part of the reason why we were having a problem with you guys is because of this. And the conversation we'd had with him about that never became an issue. He said, you're not coming to work for me as a deputy party leader of UDA, you're coming to work for me as a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, which is an office that is supposed to serve everyone.
My friend recommended the Live, an app that changed everything. I was definitely skeptical.
To work for me as a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, which is an office that is supposed to serve everyone. It doesn't matter what party you come from.
So this was so I want to now kind of take us back to that moment. So you were advising him. You said you left earlier this year. This is when you stopped. February this year.
Actually, when he started forming a new party.
DCP, when he started forming DCP.
Yes.
Was that part of your motivation to step back?
Yes.
Because then there would have been a conflict.
There would have been a conflict. Actually, the primary reason we were not able to continue working was going to be a conflict. And the conflict came up not so much because he started a new party, but because the trajectory that the new party was going to take was going to be in conflict with Jubilee. Because remember, initially, I don't know whether that has changed. I listen to him these days and I feel as if he has changed. But when he began with a very forceful position that DCP is going to be the only party in Mount Kenya region. Now, me, I'm in Jubilee. I don't intend to move. So I'm not going to work with somebody who says that I have to be in that party to move. Because what are you telling me? I have to leave. I have to live where I have been. And I keep telling people, not just have I invested a lot of money. We used to be debt a lot of money to go into Jubilee when we were in office. And then you've paid, what do you call this, nomination fees twice for that party. So there's a lot of my money in Jubilee. But then there's also a lot that I appreciate Jubilee for, including giving me an opportunity to be Member of Parliament for Nyeri. I haven't reached the point where I want to leave yet. And I'm not going to leave to join a new party that I'm not sure about. So my initial conversation was, we find a way to coexist, But at that point, he was very clear in his head, no. Jubilee and every other party in Mount Kenya region must give way for this new party.
If you had listened to your advice, what would that setup have looked like today?
A lot like what they're trying to do now.
Okay.
But you see, now what he's trying to do now is because of pressure and resistance rather than because of choice. Because my suggestion was, my very initial suggestion after he was thrown out of government was, why don't you go to Jubilee? Why don't you go to Uhuru and have a conversation with him? You've already started trying to make amends. You've already started trying to reach out to him. You've tried to reconcile with him. The final act of reconciliation could actually be you going back to the party that you left. Because remember, Gachagua was also a member of Jubilee, for at least 5 years. But he also played a very fundamental role in destroying Jubilee, especially in Mount Kenya region. So I was like, look, if you really want to do penance and show you really mean when you say you're sorry, the easiest way to do this is to go back to Jubilee, sit down with Uhuru and say, look, I did what I did to this party. Give me an opportunity to rehabilitate it or to bring it back as my way of showing the past is the past.
No ill feelings.
No hard feelings. And anyway, Jubilee was never supposed to be a personal property of Uhuru Kenyatta, right? It was Uhuru had already reached the point where he was like, look, me, I've done my part. I just don't want this party to die with me. So it was a very easy gap. Jubilee at that moment looked like it was dead, as we kept being told. So it was another opportunity for him to walk in and with the momentum that he had, just take it back to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But you see also that would have required him to accept to be within a certain structure, that you'd have to be answerable to other people.
Exactly. I was going to say
responsibility, and that was a conflict.
Makes sense, because these are all very big personalities. I know we're going to, there's a lot to cover with you, including what Uhuru is up to, the Matiang'i factor, but I still want to go back a little bit. Was that the only reason that you parted with Gachagua? Was there a fallout? Because I was saying earlier, I was listening to your commentary from a day or so ago.
Yes.
And we'll come to that in a moment, when it seemed that you were coming across as, listen, Gachagua right now is desperate for the mountain. He's the jabs he's throwing indirectly or directly. So I just want to know whether the separation that you two experienced was a seamless one, or whether there was something more to it. I know that can sound like a strange question. So some would say, of course, if I'm breaking away, it may come with some kind of animosity.
Yes.
It sounds like it came with some kind of animosity. Is that true? If it is, what happened?
It did come with animosity to some extent. First and foremost, because it would not have been his choice for me to leave. Then at that moment, you feel like you're getting disappointment. I was like his primary right-hand person a lot of the time, especially during impeachment. A lot of the times, everybody would leave and we'd be left with him, at the end of the day, and you just have to review and look at what is going on. So at the point where you leave, especially when you're leaving at that moment, he will view it as if, okay, why would you leave now?
Why
but then
abandon me at this
yes, you are literally abandoning me at this moment. But I'm like, look, if I don't leave now, it's just going to get worse. We've reached a point where we are politicians, both of us. The reason we were able to work together was because we were not working as politicians primarily. We were working on a technocrat perspective, where I would bring in my perspective and you take up yours. And there was a structure, there was a hierarchy structure, there was a hierarchical structure. You were my boss.
Hold on.
Nilikopa 15,000 na interest yake ni 5% kila mwezi.
Nilikopa 10,000 na interest yake.
Structure, there was a hierarchical structure. You were my boss.
Hold on. You told us that you were recruited to work in that office based on your experience as a political communicator.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're playing politics. You're bringing the politics side of communication
to a technocratic office, not to another politician. Remember, let me explain this to you, Eric.
Okay.
When Gachagua was deputy president, he had various functions. And this is, by the way, just to depersonalize it, same thing happened when I was working for Raila Odinga in 2012. I was working for Raila Odinga when he was prime minister. So he had an executive function and a political function. Yes. And all of the times when you're a politician in that kind of structure, you have to figure out how to balance. And when you're doing executive functions, you need somebody to convert that executive function and make sure that the politics of that function is understood. Now, when you remove the executive function, you just leave pure politics, right? And that's why there's always a possibility to have a lot more conflict when you're just doing politics. Because now we're not looking at a national perspective, we're looking at a personal interest. So politics is very personal interest driven. It's now no longer about the greater good. I can't argue with you that don't say that. Because when you say that, it comes out badly. When you start talking about Mlima, it comes out badly to the rest of the country. Now you want to talk about Mlima, right? So if I tell you, okay, that might not sell. So that tends to be the conflict and the challenge that comes in when you're just dealing with politics alone. That is not there when you're doing executive and politics.
Okay.
Yes.
So what you are on, as I interrupted you just to get to understand that, is you're explaining at the point when you were leaving.
Yes.
And the politics, because now you two are political animals. You had to leave because now you've come back into the political arena.
Yes.
You're no longer deputy president. You're now politician.
You're now a politician who is trying to find his space. And some of how you're trying to find your space is in conflict with the space that I already occupy. For example, God willing, 2027, I want to run again for office. I would want to run Jubilee. in 2027. You're telling me that if I stay with you, I can't run with Jubilee. I either join your party or I'm going to be in conflict with you
Yes.
in a rally. So why wait? If we are not able to agree now of how we can coexist by the time we get there. And remember, once you leave office as deputy president, we no longer have a hierarchy of you're no longer my boss, so to speak.
Yeah.
We are now seated as two politicians chatting political cause. What is your political cause? You want to be president. Me, I want to be member of parliament. If the way you're going to be president is going to be in conflict with how I'm going to be member of parliament, then we're going to have a problem. So we start having those problems at that beginning. If I see where you're going is going to be a problem to me in future, we're going to have a conflict. If I see the kind of political philosophy or ideology you're introducing is going to be a problem with the one I have or the one my party represents, then we're going to have a problem.
We're going to have an issue.
Yes. So why wait?
You know what? One thing I like, Janet, about politicians is when it suits them, they're very honest.
Yeah.
No, we are honest all the time. It's just that
All the time.
we are honest all the time, especially with ourselves.
Okay.